Okay, let's get rolling, this evening. The time on the clock on the wall is, 5:20. Tuesday, September 9, 2025. And I'm not gonna read a bunch of this because it doesn't apply since we're not gonna have executive sessions or anything. So I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Citizens input, and I do not see anybody that would be not connected with us. So we'll move on to number 3, consent agenda. And I'm gonna go to 3A, which is approving the minutes. That's the only thing on the consent agenda, is considering an action to approve the minutes of August 26, 2025 regular meeting. Did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes, read them? Does anybody want to make any changes? Hearing not, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
I make a motion to approve the minutes. Excuse me.
August 26.
August 26.
I second.
All right. Any questions? Otherwise, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed for August 26, 2025. Raise your hand. Okay. And those not in favor, like sign, nothing. We just started the meeting, we come over here, and we just started the meeting, and we just approved the minutes from the last meeting. So, number 4 is individual consideration. We'll move to 4A, resume the zoning code discussion on residential C1/01 zoning districts. So, Mr. Hall, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, or everyone say good evening. To the members of Recode Rowlett, we are on our 8th meeting. And just kind of quickly to cover the agenda. So we'll just briefly cover the meeting objectives. It's always a good refresher to remind ourselves why we are here and what the council had been doing when creating this committee. We are now on to the non-residential zoning districts. So just again, a brief summary, identifying some characteristics. We last left off talking about office and commercial, light commercial, and limited office zoning districts. So we'll continue on with that discussion before we go into staff's proposed recommendations. And then we would like to introduce, because we're talking about office, the remaining office zoning districts, O2, C2, and then for commercial, C2 and C3, and then discuss some recommendations. And, as the sign says, you're halfway there. I like to remind the committee, you guys have done an outstanding job in getting us all the way through all of the residential zoning districts. We're now have tackled the beginning of the non-residential zoning districts. And the recommendation is looking kind of at those that are in the Rowlett Development Code, and then 3 that are in the form-based code, and figuring out if we can combine, collapse, expand, whatever the desire is as we move forward to these final exercises. So we kind of covered the meeting objectives, but just quickly, looking at creating a zoning ordinance that encompasses zoning districts that are flexible enough to accommodate existing development and future development. So thinking about our existing landscape, but also thinking about those projects that we will have to come before both planning and zoning commission as well as city council. Remove confusing and conflicting development standards in the RDC versus form-based code. We know that those exist. And, certainly as staff, we are reminded daily of some of the conflicts that we have, and we try to sort through them as best as possible. Reduce requests for plan developments, zoning districts by consolidating zoning districts with similar intents. And our idea is looking at what's existing out in the physical realm, and again, those things are gonna be coming for us in the future, but making sure that we can accommodate those existing developments and then those future developments that are to come. And then develop a zoning ordinance that addresses compatibility standards and mitigates potential impacts. So that's critical to the quality of life of our residents, our business community. You know, how can we continue to encourage development while at the same time respect the built environment and maybe any type of individual development that may create future incompatible issues. And finally, ensure the quality of development that is maintained throughout the city. So making sure that when we get projects, that they are well planned and well defined and well intended in terms of the type and the quality of development that is being proposed. So here's where we left off. We kind of did an introduction. We thought kind of stepping into the non-residential, looking at a baseline of what kind of exists. So this kind of gives you an idea of what exists today in the city as it relates to looking holistically at the city and looking at the different types of zoning districts, both in the RDC. We have approximately 13 non-residential zoning districts. And we have 3 non-residential zoning districts in form-based code. And so over the next couple of meetings, our goal is to walk you through these. We'll provide you with, you know, kind of the intent of each district, compare it to what's existing, and then talk through the dimension standards, the development standards, and the like, and, you know, asking for some additional input and some recommendations. And we provided some recommendations for you to consider. So first on the list, we thought we would talk about limited office and limited commercial retail. Just holistically, we were able to find approximately 4 properties across the entire city. One of those is across from community development office off of Rowlett, and it's a rather unique parcel. It's designated as 01 limited office. I think we have the image of it here. So to the right here, you see Evergreen at Rowlett, that area that's surrounding it. At some point, it was envisioned to be some type of office development. Has never come to fruition. In fact, we've been contacted in community development about changing that zoning, so that's going to come at some point with the request. But those are some of the other areas where we have this actual designation. So not a lot of property has been zoned this. Obviously, and so the idea is looking at the intent, accommodate low intensity office use of a size and scale that will provide transition from more intense commercial uses and not adversely affect neighbor or nearby residential uses. So again, looking at that issue of how can we achieve this without compromising the residential quality of life?
I can tell you, they're back up there. I can tell you why that's what it is right there. That orange right across the street from it is all little offices and so forth. And so city went through and made that office because that was just pasture land and everything out there at the time. And to go along with those on the opposite side of the street would be.
You're right. There's someone that's grazing some
Black
cattle.
orange ones that are.
Yeah, that orange, big orange that's right across the street from it.
Right here.
Oh, yeah, those are all manufacturing offices and stuff like that. So that's why the city wound up making that office over there. Across from it.
So then going from 01 limited office, we look at also limited commercial retail. Now there are a few more of these located in the city. More than 10 and less than 20. And so we kind of pulled out some of the ones. This particular zoning district is intended for small scale retail. We call it neighborhood scale retail. And so just kind of looking at the number and size, we identified some particular areas throughout the city. But when you think of this, our size, and we think of the commercial developments that we do have primarily along 66, to have a zoning district that allows for retail, but to have less than 20 suggests that this is not a popular type of zoning district that we might have. So when staff, and then here's kind of an area view that we wanted to show. 2 of these areas are zoned C1 for limited commercial, but we wanted to show that in context of the residential density around this area. So when we think about, this exercise that we're engaged in, let's make sure that we're not too ahead of ourselves and not provide neighborhood scale retail by then offering maybe higher levels of commercial zoning. So what we thought about was limited commercial establishments for these subdivisions. So again, this is Rowlett Road going into Garland. We have limited activities along Rowlett Road in particular. Again, our major thoroughfare for commercial development is 66. Areas generally built out, so new development must be in concert with existing uses. So respecting and understanding that residential development, primarily single family, is there, but how can we still also encourage and incorporate commercial development that will not be so conflicting with the existing residential patterns. New development should be scaled and complement existing residential uses and typical residential patterns in single family with some intermediate commercial developments for neighborhood services. So this was kind of a high level review of kind of some areas where there's potential activity to consider for this first scale commercial office type of development. So staff worked through kind of looking at the existing redevelopment code and the existing zoning districts. So C1, O1, and I'm gonna put my glasses on so I could read. So we're calling this limited commercial. So this is a combination of taking C1 and O1, limited office, limited commercial. And the intent is to provide small areas of low intensity, non-residential development designed to be compatible in scale with surrounding residential uses and reflecting the economic needs of residents and business owners. The district is ideally located at intersections of collector streets. So not major arterial roads, but roads that are secondary, tertiary, even maybe at a speed of 30, 35 miles an hour. But maybe 2 lanes in each direction. But these collector roads, types of uses include small scale neighborhood retail developments up to 10,000 square feet. And we thought what the current zoning designation for C1 and O1 does not have is a range in terms of what you can be so that you can keep it neighborhood level. When you start to get into commercial development that is exceeding 10,000 square feet, then you know that it's gonna also generate a lot more traffic. And so we want to keep in mind parking, traffic, all of those factors are going to be considered. So we wanted to maybe limit it to up to 10,000 square feet for any type of commercial retail development, and for office development up to 5,000 square feet. This proposed district includes revisions to C1 and O1 districts that make it appropriate for use along the perimeter of residential streets where larger regional commercial establishments are less desirable. So to kind of play this out, we found an area that is currently zoned C1. It is along Rowlett Road, and the cross street is Hickok on the west side of Rowlett Road. So, yes, southwest, correct. So there's a vacant office building, and then right next to it is a retail strip that has donut, I think, State Farm, and a cleaners. I know because I went to that cleaners once. And so we wanted to kind of play out as we began to get into the dimensional standards and the setbacks, the building standards. let's look at the existing building and kind of look at kind of what the, particularly the setbacks were. So from this illustration, what we noticed was that the office building that's currently vacant with about 5 spaces for individual professional offices, the setback from Rowlett Road was about 93 feet. So they had landscape area, sidewalk, more landscape area, I believe, and then parking in front and on the side and in the back. The rear yard setback was 65 feet. As you all know, this abuts a single family residential development. And then adjacent to that, or right next to it, is the retail center, less than 5,000 square feet. And it's kind of 2-story. So we wanted to, and you'll see in some other illustrations, we wanted to see from the residential perspective, what would you see from this commercial development? Because that could help us in terms of recommendations for height. Because we're going to look at that in the next slide. But basically, what we're recommending is the max lot coverage would be 70%, up to 70%. The setbacks would include a minimum frontage of 35 feet. That's from the right of way. Minimum side would be 10 feet, and then the minimum rear would be 25 feet. One of the reasons why we arrived at 25 feet, we wanted to make sure that there was clearance for fire trucks in the event that they have to get behind you. At the same time, we're mindful that some businesses pick their trash up from the back. So making sure that there's enough, area for a big trash compactor to be able to either be maneuvered out or for a trash truck to go in behind, pick up and continue on.
But that would not necessarily give them enough room for the buffer zone as well. Would we not need to include a buffer zone and 25? Then
It could potentially. Now, this is just the minimum rear. So it's saying this is the minimum that we think would be able to achieve, because bear in mind, like areas like this, there's oftentimes a setback between the property and then an alley. Most of these property hasn't had an alley. So we were looking at a minimum of 25-foot rear, and then this particular illustration that you'll see, there's an alley, and then their fence, and then their backyard. So there's
further to that property.
it's probably somewhere around 7,500 square feet.
Do you know the number of car parks there?
Don't know the car parks. I would estimate it to be right around 35 to 40.
That is a new building that's never had a light.
What's the rationale to delineate between retail up to 10,000 and office up to 5?
So the delineation is office. We wanted to make sure there are instances where offices will be higher, 2-story or more. So we wanted to limit the square footage of office no more than 5,000, so that if you include a floor above, you would have 25 on the second floor and 25 on the first floor. Typically, when we see retail, we see it all on one level. We were concerned about the visibility, and what you will notice in this illustration. So this is the backs of the buildings that we were just showing.
Yep.
So you see the alley here, their block wall, and then you can see kind of the very top of that retail building. It has a parapet wall, right? So you can see that. But by and large, there's privacy between the residents and the activities that maybe they're doing in their backyard, and then preventing you from looking at the activities.
Is there any requirement that commercial development maintains that wall?
Yes, it's part of the property.
Well,
That's on their property. It's not like an HOA,
Right.
Residential.
That should be a requirement.
exactly. I mean, we're all sitting here saying, isn't that great? There's
Right.
a delineation between, but
Right.
5 years from now,
Yes.
10 years from now.
So that is on private property. It should be maintained by the property.
So, okay, so it's residential on the left.
So this is a residential here.
Okay.
This is that cleaners,
Right.
donut shop, and State Farm. and you can see the top of the building just kind of from the alley.
The neighborhood was built first,
Right.
sat there vacant for a long time. Then a developer came in and the developer had to put in the wall for commercial to residential when he developed the commercial. So that's the reason the wall's there.
I'm still stuck in the 5 and 10. Why don't we just say retail or office up to 10,000 unless it's 2-story and just say then it's limited to 5,000, but we don't say office, yeah.
No, I don't think you have to do that, just say limited to 10,000 square feet. Because the commercial's gonna go ahead and get their 10,000 square foot
Yeah,
single floor of an office building, for you to do that.
or chef.
5 and 5, or 10 and
So
5.
that was gonna be my suggestion, because on Liberty Grove Road, right outside of, it's right outside of Homestead, on the south side of the road. There are these little office complexes, they're 5,000 square feet apiece, but it's on one lot. So my question is, this is 20,000 square feet that's zoned your low density retail, and it doesn't fit with this. So now, as a developer, you plat each of these buildings on a separate lot, and then are you obligated to spread the units apart? Because this is the type of low density development you want next to a neighborhood, or a little donut store, and a State Farm.
Picturing, oh, you're talking about the.
So I'm
No.
thinking, this is on Liberty Grove Road, right, it's just, where it,
South side.
yeah, so this is Homestead Boulevard, and what is that comes up there, so see, yeah.
She's down the swamp.
Yeah, yeah, okay, so as you come Liberty Grove, just across Bush,
Well, it's fully leased.
it's on the south side, and it's fully leased. Yeah.
But
So
there's
that's,
a traffic problem getting in and out of it.
That was on the old
Without
Logan's property and nothing's built across from it. That's it.
okay, so that was my question, is that seems like what you're trying to recommend from a neighborhood retail, right?
But I think the argument would be, when you start to get over to the point of traffic and traffic demands, parking, some additional elements, you start to change the sheer nature of what this district is intended. So this is meant to be no more than 10,000 square feet. So when we get into 15, 17, 20, then you will see when we get to the next zoning district recommendation, retail starts right around 10 or more. When we start to get into more regional types of shopping centers. So,
Well, I think that's what I'm trying to tag, is that at 15 or more, now you've got like a Hollywood feed or a Pets, Pet Sense, which is Tractor Supply's version of Hollywood feed, they're 18,000 square feet. But this is 20,000 square feet, and it's 1,200 square foot units
right,
that are full to a building. So does this fit into this category? Or does it fit in with the Hollywood feed?
it fits in with the next proposed zoning district.
So, okay, so this is considered higher
This will
impact.
be, yes, higher impact, larger, one, because of the sheer size of the building. So we regulate like this,
Building's only 4,800 square feet, right? That's where I'm going, is these buildings are small, they're sub 5,000 square feet, and they're low impact because they're State Farm and On-Time Health Services, are kind of an independent office. You know, you don't want a home office, you're gonna go office
Right.
somewhere else. You might have 2 people that work in 1,000 square feet. It's not a donut store where you have people coming and going. But this, I think, is what you're gonna see a lot of on these
But
retail
it's a
boards.
cluster of them, right? So it's 20,000 square feet, and there's the potential to have.
Because it's on one line, because it's 4
So there's
buildings.
potential to have people
Right.
in and out all day long.
That's true.
5 donut shops.
and the other critical part to that is we can't
Which is
control
not
the
gonna
tenancy.
exist.
So the challenge is, in a situation like that, you can't control the tendency. So you may have a professional office like a tax or insurance company today, but tomorrow you might get a more high intense use come in. And now you have to kind of figure out, is that gonna necessitate higher traffic volumes, additional types of activities?
I agree with you 100%, and that's my reservation for blending limited office and limited commercial. Because now you're putting a donut shop and a State Farm in the same
Yeah,
category.
I'm good with that.
So,
Go to the bill shop.
yeah, that's what the state market I say. So I just think it's something to be aware of, is if we put them both together, you have this small limited office that's low impact on traffic being clumped in with your dry cleaners and your donut shop, which are high impact on traffic.
Yeah, so that then affects how we're gonna combine these two codes.
Because then you can have a donut shop and a State Farm spot in the same retail center, which is probably not logical from a development standpoint, you're not gonna do that. Right. But your code would then allow them both to be on the same footprint, which impacts your TIA and your overall parking. So does it make sense to keep limited neighborhood office or low density office development separate from
I
commercial
think that's
retail?
fine, so we're limiting it to 10,000, 5,000, because we can control that here, just with the sheer size of the space.
There,
Yeah.
look at Rowlett Road and Shaw.
Yeah.
Can you pull that up?
Well, they could be.
That's it, that's what this is.
Yeah.
So this is this development, or is there another one?
No, there's no.
Rowlett Road and Shaw. And you'll see
The Italian
on the
restaurant,
corner is,
Yeah.
donut shop.
yeah,
Right, thrift. Yeah.
Enterprise Wind Farm.
The beans, school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a true strip center. That's one continuous building.
Yeah.
But what's the zoning that's on it? That's my point. That's probably a C1. I'll be shocked if it's a C2.
What's the cross street?
Shaw,
Rowlett Road.
Rowlett Road, Shaw.
Does the term
Yeah.
small scale neighborhood retail development, is that,
As I said, I can't find it there, so.
is that just a directional term? Does that actually have a meaning? What's?
No,
I
in
see
the
that.
planning world, it
I'm
does
trying to
have,
understand what that really
Yeah.
means.
it does have a meaning, and it can range from 15,000 square feet down to, 2,500 square feet.
Right.
It's meant to service.
But from a tenant point of view, does it have a meaning? I mean, I guess that's really what I'm asking. I mean, pretty much anybody that has a 5,000 square foot, each 5,000 square foot for a business. Maybe they're, I don't know, maybe a small, very small plumbing supply store.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, it's more limiting uses.
Or,
Right.
We weren't limiting uses.
well, and
other than
that's
the
where I'm going. That's kind of what my question is.
Yeah.
Is that a directional statement, or does that actually have a defined meaning? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, this thing, we're just limiting them as far as the space.
Yeah.
You can occupy as far as space, and obviously the SUPs that are in place, like,
Well, our
the
use.
same thing would still have. to-
Right, we could obviously and should
Yeah.
update our use chart. And I guess that's sort of where
Right,
I'm going.
exactly.
And we-
Is because you can't put a fine space, if you could have a commercial plumbing supply business at 5,000 square feet, which wouldn't really fit the same full-time breaks.
So if you're curious, right now, limited commercial doesn't have a restriction on size in terms of size of building, square footage, right? When we go to the next level, which is general commercial, you will see the intent is meant to be more regional, larger scale types of retail and office developments. So we're stepping it up based upon, one, the location of where these are gonna go, because these are gonna be primarily adjacent to single-family residential.
Right.
So that's the other reason why we wanna limit the size. We don't want the commercial to so overpower that existing residential neighborhood.
Right. I agree
Because
with
we know,
commercial.
we know where those issues are gonna come in.
Do we have a chart for where we're trying to go as far as all the zones at this point, the zoning district?
We do. I don't wanna jump too far ahead though.
Well,
Now,
I think
if
it's like,
you're
yeah,
curious, if,
kind of where we're going,
right.
it might limit some of the questions, it might create a question.
So I tell you what, if you guys are curious, we can look at.
Does that make sense? Like they still see an industrial zoning district later, it might answer some of those questions.
So let's pause this for a moment. I want to show you a preview. Well, before we do, let's look at this. So one of the things I asked staff to do was, let's take a vacant lot that's would fit into limited commercial and figure out based upon those proposed dimension requirements and setbacks and all of that, and see kind of what the buildable pad is. Because you always want to see what kind of the buildable pad is. So the first image that you see to the top is an area that is right next to the fire station on Rowlett, right? For sale sign. I think this is C1 right now. And so based upon, now this just includes what the particular buildable area is, not including your parking and landscaping. So this is kind of all encompassing. But you know, the idea is, what does this look like, and how big potentially could the building be, and how would this be compatible or not compatible to the existing neighborhood? So what you see here is it's a 2.4 acre site, and then the net developable area is going to be about 1.74 acres. That's not showing the parking, the landscaping, and so you can probably get a building in there of about 5, 6, 7,000 square feet. Retail building. The area right next to it is a little smaller, so we came up with, you know, another area that's 1.7 acres, so right around 0.7 acres of available, including your hardscape and your parking. The image to the right is the street right behind this, so that area that you see at the back, and you can kind of see through the house, so you can kind of see what it's going to look like adjacent to that neighborhood. So it won't be offsetting, but that's why we thought we needed to restrict the height to no more than 2 stories. Because can you imagine having a 3-story structure and then you're looking at the back of the building? So the thought was, let's limit this, let the developer have a little bit of creative freedom, but let's limit the height to 2 stories. Typically, most retail will have 1 story. You may have an office that will go higher than 2 stories.
Well, you know, who's gonna want to be next to the fire station?
Seriously.
It's a fire like,
I think she's created a mess there. The fire station's in the middle of that whole lot.
Yeah.
No place. They're not leasing the space across the street for the fire station. It's already built.
I think that's a lot of, he's, I think, targeting specifically medical professionals.
You know, so he's suing the higher rent.
Yeah.
So now, if you just want to preview what we're proposing for O2, C2, C3, we can jump into that. We'll come back to it, but it'll kind of give you kind of what the range is. So O2 is identified as general office in currently Rowlett Government Code, intended to encourage moderate to high intensity office developments in locations not adjacent to single family residential uses. So now you begin to see kind of what the intent is. This is really meant to be in business park areas along major thoroughfares, not necessarily right next in abutting residential developments.
Not adjacent to residential developments, which that particular O2 is gonna be adjacent to a.
Because the building the townhomes.
Right.
First,
We need to just get rid of O2.
That's why we're gonna reimagine what this one could look like now, because that's right next to Rowlett High School to the south, and then
First Baptist Church
Yeah.
on the left. and
that's right.
New development.
Activities located in the office district should have traffic generation characteristics associated with the office environment, may have retail and commercial uses as part of the master plan development. Okay, so that's O2, that's what we currently do. And then C2, C3. C2, as you all know, is our most prevalent commercial zoning district in the city. Almost all of 66 is zoned C2, except those instances where it's SUP, and then the underlying zone is C2 typically. And then we have a couple of places along Bush Toll Road that is zoned C3. There really is no big variation between the two. we only have a few areas in the city along the bush that are zoned C3. So C2, the district is intended to conduct the retail sales types uses with only a subordinate percentage of development associated with other retail and office uses. So that entire length of 66 is what C2 is envisioned. C3 is intended for regional retail uses within the district and should be high sales tax generators, so big box development, about a big box development. The target, for instance, is not zone C3, it's zone C2. But it's off of 66 and both. So, just to provide illustrations, I found an office development, 2-story office development off in Richardson off of the toll road. You can kind of see it here. I have a better image of it. And then Target, our development, and I thought this would be interesting. You can see Target kind of from toll road. 1-story. Technically, it's probably 2-story because the ceilings are so high in those big box developments. So probably 35 feet, but you can kind of see it. But the clear part, and here's the distinction between what we were just talking about versus this. These are large scale retail developments that are going to generate traffic, that are going to have other major impacts, that are going to be able to go higher in terms of their height because of their location, and will not be suitable for any typical neighborhood adjacent to single family. So here, the distinction is retail greater than 10,000 square feet and office greater than 5,000. So we're trying to step up and make the difference between what is a limited commercial versus what is a general commercial zone district.
Your handout references flex space.
Yes.
And flex space I define as office warehouse. So you have an office in the front, warehouse in the back, could be light manufacturing, could be some retail. But I don't think office flex belongs with commercial office, and I don't think it belongs with retail. So sliding in flex space in commercial office is a little troubling for me. I think office flex belongs more with industrial.
The two existing lots we got at the end of Main right there on the push, the one over by the Methodist Church and the one in front of 190 Main. So what is the current zoning on those?
Are these the two you're talking about? Let's see.
The just north and south of Main, yeah.
Those are form-based urban village.
Those are current form-based urban village, yeah.
Yeah, the one off of Main is.
Form-based urban village. And the purple,
Yeah, both of those.
yep, because this is Miller, so that would be, all of that is.
Okay, yellow and purple, the two on the right, down, right there. You're right, right there, those two right there.
So we got some single family 10, this is a PD, and then this is C2.
That's maybe right there.
Well, no, that's not right, I'm not getting Main Street, right? Yeah, right there, Main.
That's all.
That's
Farm-based
village.
Yeah, it's all.
Form-based urban
Okay.
village.
The undeveloped part is the commercial part of their, form-based code. They built the residential, but they couldn't build a commercial component. So that's what's making it.
And then just directly to the south, across Miller, and north of Miller is going to be C3. So intended for regional retail
Okay,
or
right.
office. And that's primarily what you see when you're driving along toll road, right? A lot of office developments, some apartment developments,
Hospitals.
a lot of hospitals. I call, Bush Road, the hospital corridor, because every city that I'm going into, Garland, Richardson, even Saxe, there's some type of medical facility on either side. So I wanted to just show you this before we go back to say, here is what we kind of envision, and this is what kind of dictates what we envision for general commercial. So the distinction here is intended to provide a campus environment, multi-tenant flex space to your large-scale retail suitable for parcels along major thoroughfares. The district should accommodate diverse and wide-range commercial uses, including business parks, office developments, employment centers, and regional entertainment. Consideration for promoting compatible land uses while minimizing conflicts between different types of development should achieve the desired balance between encouraging new development while protecting existing or established neighborhoods. The dimensional standards have been adjusted to provide relief to lower density developments. So here you're going to look at different heights depending upon type of commercial use, retail or office. Retail up to about 35 feet, 2 stories, office up to about 6 stories. And that's traditionally what we see, particularly along the corridors. And then what is helping to establish this between the previous zoning district is when you get into retail greater than 10,000 square feet, we think this general commercial zoning district is more and office space greater than 5,000.
On the bigger one, the greater than 10,000, so on the up to 10,000, it's 35 feet or 2 stories. On this one, it says retail 36 foot or 2
It
stories.
should just be 35.
Okay, but if it's a bigger store and it's a bigger box store, generally, don't they have ceilings taller than that generally?
Box stores like Best Buy.
Like, yeah,
They're
35.
35.
Yeah, like Walmart, Target, the ones that I see,
Yeah.
Home Depot. Home Depot may be a little bit taller.
I guess I was thinking more of Costco kind of.
Right.
Seems like they have really nice ceilings, but I haven't really got
Even
it
still,
measured.
it might be like 2 stories.
Yeah, okay. I still think we should do under 10,000 square foot and not make any delineation between the two and over 10,000 square foot. I still think.
In terms of office
Yeah.
and retail.
Just my opinion.
And is that per building or per
Yeah,
flat?
yeah.
The plat's a little bit different. So when we're looking at a plat, typically when we get these non-residential developments in, we get typically a tenant that will plat the whole site,
Right.
right? And then
And they'll subdivide it as.
And then we'll have subplats, if we have those one-offs that want to own their own property, they want to carve out their particular piece of property.
So on the subplat, can they still go up to 10,000 square feet?
Okay.
So that's all that.
That was
construction is after. Yeah.
You can replat and then,
So each of these buildings could be that maximum flatness. Okay. That's also the problem.
Yeah, it is.
I just object to the word flex in the commercial.
it can be removed.
Well,
I think that's a different,
explain to me what your objection is on it.
that you don't want, warehouse adjacent to commercial office.
What would you consider
Right.
an office
Yeah.
showroom
When you
warehouse?
look at flex, when you look at Gresham Road, when you look at Dexter, when you look at Gordon Smith, all that's flex. When it's great space, I mean, it's not sexy, it is high industrial, it is,
Yeah, but
small business owners, all of that, that doesn't belong next to a commercial building.
well, I don't think because that's like industrial, it's really what that area is zoned.
It's really
That-
flex, I mean,
Well,
I
no,
think,
the ability for the owner to be able to flex between one type of use to another.
no, the flex to me means there's a storefront. For instance, if you're going to buy, marble countertops. You could go there on Gordon Smith Road, the front part, you showroom with granite. In the back, he's storing this granite.
He's cutting.
So it's a flexible space.
That's
The
not
front,
what I consider flex.
I think
That's not what I
that
consider
if you look at
flex.
Jackson Shaw project, I think that's a flex.
no, Jackson Shaw is completely industrial.
No, because you're gonna have office in there too, but it,
Typically flex is smaller, it's 1,500 to 2,000 square feet.
right, but the point,
Yeah.
Like an HVAC guy.
Yeah.
but the point that
Office up front.
what I think you're making is on the Jackson Shaw, even though it may have the warehouse component, may have offices in it. That if you had your typical office building, 5-story building sitting next to it, it would not be
Would be common.
yeah. And I would agree with that.
I think Flex and Jackson Shaw, if there is a delineation between the two, I understand what you're saying, but those two belong together. But commercial office next to it doesn't belong to it.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be AT&T and I want to put, or somebody wants to, we'll go to City Line for realistic, the State Farm building sitting right next door to, will not be competitive.
But it isn't.
Yeah,
So
and I agree.
Multifamily is, there's multifamily next to City Line.
But I'm talking about the office building and the warehouse
Yeah.
parts. And I would agree with that.
So when I moved to tenant flex, I was thinking it'd be like, it's flexible for different types of uses, but it's not like a warehouse.
Well, and it's also flexible in that, oh, you only want 5,000 square feet, great, I'll put a wall up here.
Right,
But if I need to, I can pull that wall down
Yeah.
and make it 15,000 square feet more. That's
Exactly.
a flexible space.
Yeah.
The one he's saying, there's one going in at the end of Enterprise. That is what he's talking about. There'll be about 4 tenants. That's what they approached P and Z with. 4 tenants in there. One of them actually was tile business that he was talking about. You go in, shop, and then the back end of it was the warehouse for holding the tile. And that's what that building is going in right behind it. That's the end of
It's
Enterprise.
flexible because 80% of it can be warehouse and 20% can be showroom. That's the flex part.
So I think we're
Well,
missing,
and we're missing the point that we also have the use chart. Where you can go ahead and designate what can and can't go in.
but at the end of the day, we're all thinking the same thing. I think to his point, he just said, we're debating the definition, so we can kind of carve out what we really mean by this, regardless of what the actual, I guess we did define what that means or strike it.
because in real estate, flex space is a defined term. It's a
It is.
commercial property that's used for office and light industrial, or office and warehouse.
My point is that.
And so flexible space is more of a retail space that can be demised to create multiple tenants. But flex space itself is really a light industrial use.
Good call.
So let's go back to,
And I think there's architectural things too that would delineate, you wouldn't want a typical office building as we would think right next to the warehouse. Even though I like what we've got out there in Jackson Shaw, but that style just would not be complementary to a regular typical office building.
does that work?
It's fine with me. It's a, I mean, an industry standard definition.
Yeah, it is.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think you smooth that into the lay on plant manufacturing. It is.
Thank you.
Okay.
And actually define it within
Yeah,
the
it-
definitions.
it's really fun.
Yeah, because colloquially now, it's like we work.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go back to limited commercial, back to the personal use. So the recommendation, I think I heard you say, council member, is just don't restrict office at all, just keep it all, either retail or office to 10,000 square feet.
That's what I think.
Up to 10,000.
Any objections?
You're still good with the 2 stories?
Yeah.
It would be greater than.
Less than, up to,
We're back on commercial.
Oh.
We flipped back to the smaller one.
I was just giving you a cheat sheet.
You're
Previous.
Yeah.
You guys are still debating flex space.
I am. Big boss on it.
We're trying to tackle 5 zoning districts in one night.
We all
This
know.
is good.
I'll second that modification.
What's,
So up to,
Square feet, yeah.
What,
We're on the right
retail?
road, yes. The one you could-
2 stories.
I think we're probably, vast majority of us are up to 10,000 square foot on both retail and office space.
Yeah.
we need to take a
I
look.
don't think you need to take a vote.
Okay.
guys, we're good. Okay, so for C2, so we have office 2, the larger office building types, that's what it envisions. C2 and C3, it's regional retail.
And on that, I think,
Then you're gonna strike multiple flex space or
Yes,
multi-tenant.
you can take that out.
multi-tenant flex space goes, it's strong.
Remove
That's not been told.
campus office,
We-
large retail suitable for parcels along major thoroughfares. So we will never expect Chiso Road to have one of these zoning districts, right?
Right.
Because it won't accommodate. And it doesn't go with the intent or the vision of what we're saying. Commercial uses including business parks, office developments, employment centers, and regional retail. Councilmember, to your point, since we're a little bit more flexible here, do we want to consider maybe a different height restriction for retail? What happens if we do get a retail comes in and is 40 feet?
Well, like a Bass Pro Shop, consider a Bass Pro Shop, like I say, probably 50 foot. Probably
Can you ask for a litigation? Or does it come in and ask for litigation?
Should.
got a little kind of void.
Well, yeah, that's why you keep them low.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they, once up, and it's in the right spot.
We got, I'm good, but yeah, that's probably if you're just trying to think of one that is local and could be a possibility, something like
I'd rather
that.
do that than have a higher level of the
Yeah, good point, a good point.
Well, do you want to combine or you want to keep separate retail and office space or combine it greater than 10,000?
Yeah. By the-
I don't have any problems with that.
What about the maximum building height right now for office? Well, let me do a little bit further explanation, because this is one we did give some consideration, because as you all know, in our city, even along Bush Toll Road, we have residential built up to the toll road, right?
Right.
So what happens if we get an office development that's 6 stories that's right next to, adjacent to? So part of what we thought about doing is, if you notice, it says for building standards, adjacent to single family residential zoning districts, max height 35 feet within 50 feet of the zoning district. Residential zoning district, single family residential. Multifamily, a little bit different, but we wanted to step it back where you are restricted to 2 stories. And then if you are within 75 feet of a single family residential zoning district, and we specifically called out single family, right? Because again, most of the multifamily are gonna be 3-4 stories, so they could potentially be the same height. Max height is 50 feet.
All right, question at this point, drop down to retail, you have 36 feet or 2 stories. why can't they be the same as office?
And just have one standard, like,
Yeah.
You could?
Yeah,
is there a reason to do two?
No, generally, we just don't
Maybe
see,
not.
retail that, I mean, unless you're building a mall, per se.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, no one is building malls this day.
The market kind of killed that, second story retail doesn't really exist.
Exactly.
And
But if you think that we were trying to respect kind of what is the current.
I understand, but if you're gonna restrict office to 35 feet, but you're gonna go a foot more for retail.
Right, but that's only a restriction based upon the proximity to single families. Yeah,
Understand.
because we wanna, we wanna respect the privacy of the neighbors that are there.
Yeah, I think you could just change it to building, adjacent to single family, building, not adjacent to single family. Just not what it's office or retail.
Yeah, I
But don't you have that in Emerald Bay, don't you have some two-story residential?
Is that far big? Yeah.
That far Bay, so you have that?
We probably do.
I mean, you have two-story residential and you want that to be commercial,
Yeah, right next to.
so I wouldn't necessarily suggest,
That is an anomaly there, but yes, you're right.
yeah.
There is that situation. It's not fun.
I think to cut it out, then get commercial.
The change through me, I would suggest would be office or retail adjacent, single family residential. Leave those as is,
Okay.
and then not adjacent, they would be parsed out. Cause I don't think you're gonna approve a retail establishment 75 feet or 6 stories high. So leave them separate for not adjacent.
They're selling parachutes, no one dumpster.
We need to take our economic development to find that.
At least they restaurant.
I guess they could allow you
Not even
to
this
consider
guy,
other
that
place.
place.
Yeah.
Right.
One up on
Yeah.
121.
I fly.
Or I fly.
There used to be a restaurant in Denver, Colorado, where they had cliff jumping in the restaurant. Oh, cool. I forgot the name of the restaurant, but yeah, they had cliff jumpers do cliff jumping while you were eating your Mexican food. It was well,
That could also be pizza.
yes,
South Park restaurant.
yes, Casa Bonita, yes. That's what it was. Yes.
That was an interesting.
So let's rethink this.
It's a concept.
So, what are the thoughts again? So we'll keep the,
Building height within 35 feet at 50 feet, within 50 feet adjacent to single family at 75 feet. If it's the building, no delineation there. If the building is not adjacent to single family residential, then the max height is 75 feet or 6 stories. There, right, Caleb?
Yeah, and instead of saying building, I would just say office or retail.
Yeah.
Just make it easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then just parse out office and retail for adjacent, not adjacent, I'm sorry.
And you're trying to the retail line bottom.
just really. And we're gonna, for maximum building square footage, we're gonna keep it office and retail rated at 2,000.
Yep.
Okay. We need a motion on that?
no, I think we're all in agreement.
We're in agreement? All right. Do we have time for a quick preview of what's coming next? So this is one I've asked staff to really help me with. We have an institutional zoning district. And we think the intent, what we read the intent is to be intended to be used on land that contains public or quasi-public facilities or private facilities of a non-commercial character serving the general public. Examples of such facilities are public schools, parks, recreation centers, hospitals, and universities. What we found in our research, based upon our review of the zoning ordinance, we only found one, which was Rowlett High School. And we have several other high schools here, but they don't have this zoning district designation. We have hospitals, as you all know. They don't have this zoning district. Some of them will have, a lot of them will have PD, but even the underlying zoning district is not institutional. or institutional urban, I'm sorry. So what we're trying to figure out and what we'll bring back at the next meeting when we tackle this one. So our intent is to tackle this one in manufacturing zoning, and we only have 2 of those zoning districts here. We'll bring back, but what we want to see is how are other cities, what are the zoning districts for schools, or a city hall, or a park.
But allowable uses also include those other things, community facilities, daycares.
Yes.
Wow.
and group homes. That's what the current ordinance says. That's what the current,
Yeah, I remember that.
right.
That seems.
So I think
I don't know, this together.
Oh, this year.
Right.
Pre-K there.
And what they were trying to get at was.
But I don't consider a daycare an institution.
Right.
What's the living either?
I think they were speaking, Mayor Pro Tem, I think they were speaking more toward servicing the general public,
Okay.
which is why that was included. But this is exactly the point we want to have. This is where we're saying this is kind of confusing, a little conflicting.
In the past, it's been, churches and schools can go in any zone.
Go in what?
That's just.
Any zoning district.
Any zoning district, a school, or, a church can go into. So it could be residential, and you got that, and that's the reason you see Back and Dorsey and all those in the neighborhoods and their elementaries. But the basic zoning was residential.
So a little bit of research for us. As you can see, that particular use is just a little, it's like a catch-all, right? It kind of catches everything. Community facilities, daycares, assisted living facilities, food homes. That would literally, you would literally be creating zoning districts for an apartment building. Right? I mean, if we were to apply this to what is really out.
Yeah, and when we get to this, like, we're just talking about, like, rezoning Rowlett High School. Like, Rowlett High School have this new zoning.
Yeah, and
That makes me the intent.
And what would be a particular type of existing building where this would be applicable?
Well, we all schools in the right.
Yeah, no, I just see something showing.
So, our recommendation is we're gonna reimagine what this is and bring you back.
Well,
This is what we're trying to do.
but what Kelly said, I want to throw this out,
That's Florida.
and I'm not sure that I totally agree with that. If you're thinking about this, if you take this current schools and you say, okay, let's just make an institutional or whatever you want to call it, and make all the schools like that, what happens when the school district comes in with an older building, closes it?
They rezoned.
Because they're gonna sell it off, right? They're gonna sell it off.
Well, but the existing, like I said a while ago, for Back or Dorsey and many other elementary schools, they're already in a residential zone area. So if they closed that particular school, then you're set on typically a residential.
Right.
The only one's the high school.
Well, and you have a measure of control, which you rezone it to.
Right. But let's discuss why that is critical for just a moment. So let's say, for instance, we're trying to assess the needs of education in the city. And we go to a map that has all the schools mapped out. Geographically, we can see if we just gave that particular zoning district 2 schools, we can kind of see generally where they are. If we have areas where there are deficits and where they may have schools, and areas where there are plethora of schools or these types of institutions.
Educational deserts.
Yes, if we have education, we talk about daycare deserts, right? So,
Or you
I
could,
can see why this would be helpful.
or you could approach a Dallas College.
Yep.
For that piece of property and
Right.
say we want to connect it to the high school,
Exactly.
which would be a very smart thing.
We're understanding that you might need a school here and this huge development later, and so you zone this little piece, this little corner over here.
Yeah.
Institutional
Which
for later.
doesn't problem.
You have and I don't know if everybody knows this, but I'll throw it out there. You have right at 90 acres out on Miles and Castle. It's on the GISD. It was where the second high school and third stadium was to go. They called that off, but they still own that property. Miles and Castle,
Well, okay, yeah,
across from the dump,
yeah,
and it goes all the way back to Merritt.
right. And so you're saying that it's currently
Currently GISD owns it.
owns it and
Yeah.
and is it zoned?
I'm thinking that the zoning actually is agricultural or whatever.
But it's not,
Because-
again, not an
Yeah.
institution or any sort of.
No, but they do own that property. And it was for a third stadium and a second high school for Rowlett. They decided, no, we're not gonna do that.
So it would be helpful.
Any other requests for our next meeting? Anything else we think we need to provide you all that we haven't provided? Did you want to cover what you had requested staff to bring you today?
Yes, y'all should have a copy of, estimated units in Rowlett, for, Bayside and Sapphire Bay developments. And the reason I did that for this group is if we look at this, especially when we look at the North Shore area, this is, I'm not sure that's the plan you want to go to, but at least you can see, wait a minute, what happened here?
Just out of curiosity, can we also get, because I know somebody tracks this in the city, and that's occupancy rate of all the
Yeah, we have the,
family units.
the multi-family units right now, about 17% vacancy rate. You guys know that? We had a presentation to council recently.
Is that just because, 190 came online, and
We've had a lot of units come on.
there's another, so it'd be interesting to see what will be next month or two.
Yeah, and Sapphire Bay seems to have a higher vacancy rate than the rest of the area.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a reason for that. And the
It's
speculation
all
is that
under development, it's
under construction.
zone,
Right.
looks ugly.
All those things.
And I think you,
Yeah.
and this is for whatever it's worth, I'm going to take privilege here and throw it out to the council members that's here. You have this kind of potential population, these are just units, and you think about, they're practically 80+% full and occupied when they're open. But the point being is that you have a place like that, you don't have the infrastructure to move those people to shop in this town. We don't have the money I saw a doctor the other day and the nurse in the doctor's office lives in Bayside. She told me, said, "I'm shocked around that. I go down here 30 and although she works, I'll grant this and it's easier for her to do this, but she works in Rockville." But she said, "Well, face the traffic trying to get it to go up to 66. No way. I'll just stop on 30 and go to Rockwell."
Good luck.
So,
Yeah. good luck.
well, I would like to know, there's only about two ways to get up to 66 on that end of town. If we want people, wherever we put population areas, to shop in this town, and how difficult is it for them to get up to the shopping centers, or do they go somewhere else?
I don't know about you, but the very first day they started doing it, I could see that was what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
That was, if I'm living there and all the exits are going right there, I just, of course, you got the nightmare of going over the bridge, and that's a separate issue, but I mean, that's not surprising, given that. I don't know that translates, I think you were saying, using that as a model for North Shore, because I don't think those are the same thing. North Shore's inland, if you will.
Just for instance, tonight, we'll see at P and Z level, a number of townhomes to go in north of 66. The only way that they can ingress and egress is north of 66 on the service road. There's nothing else in lanes. So for them to shop Rowlett, they gotta go north to at least Liberty Road before they can flip to come back south too.
Yeah, Target.
So, you know, well, you know, there's more than just Target in this town. We'd like to see, you know, businesses succeed. But if we do that now, we're gonna have people on the south side that they're gonna have to go all the way to Miller to flip around and come up to 66 where I'm shopping. So I just think that that's something we need to think about.
Thing is, traffic is bad here, but traffic is bad when the entire metroplex.
It is.
It's bad, it doesn't matter if it's Rowlett, Garland, all of it, it's just bad everywhere.
And
So
if you don't-
million people in this little metroplex. It's Rockwell's terrible, it's everywhere,
Yeah,
it's everywhere, so.
And I think it's just a matter of when you do move into someplace, you figure out where you want to go. You
Yeah.
figure out how it is. You know, you have your preferences.
Yeah.
So if you're in Sapphire Bay, you think getting on 30 and going into Rockwall is easier than going down Rock to 66. That's your preference, you know, I mean, that's just.
well, but it goes a little past that. I can go back streets in a lot of ways from my house. But those places are limited to only one way out. Because they're on the one-way service road. They have no roads that hooks up to any other way to circumvent to go around.
And so I give you that, then what are you
Well,
saying? I mean,
Well, the takeaway from this is when we look at places that.
like you're saying, no, you can't build a townhouse there because it's too hard for you to get to the grocery store.
No, I'm just saying that we need to be cognizant of whatever we put in, that our infrastructure can work to get people someplace.
I think the only way that.
That's actually the biggest
Yeah,
preference. I got blank.
I understand what you're saying. I'm not gonna say that I necessarily agree with what you're saying. I understand it.
Yeah.
But I mean, to a certain extent, we're a product of geographically where we are in the development up to this point. I mean, that's what we are. And so, I don't know that, I mean, the argument may be true, but I don't know that it's.
And there's something else that you're taking into consideration. Even now, right now, we're having aerial delivery.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Never have to leave your house.
We're fucking.
45, 45. $1 food for 20.
Coming from Los Angeles.
Oh, she's sitting on 405? Yeah, sit on 405 for an hour and a half.
We will, Jeff. All right, is there anything else? Otherwise, we'll adjourn this. Motion for adjournment?
Yeah. It's all.
All right, motion in a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Thank you,
All
Tom.
right, we're adjourned.